Welcome everybody to a look at a brand new Steelbook release. It's for a 4K Steelbook, and yeah, it's a film that came out this year, and it is Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Not entirely sure how to say it with the accents in between the two names. It's a bit of a bewildering title, to be honest, but luckily that has not affected the film too badly. So yeah, this is directed by Adam Wingard, who also did Godzilla vs Kong, as well as The Guest, You're Next, which is actually getting a 4K release as well from Second Sight, and A Horrible Way to Die. So this is a monster film or kaiju film, and clocks in at 115 minutes long. Had a reported budget between 135 million and 150 million. But its box office takings were 570 million, or nearly as makes no difference as that, and that makes it the highest grossing film in the MonsterVerse that this is a part of. Not by a huge amount; it's only about $1 million ahead of what Kong Skull Island did. But because the budget is less, even if at 150 million, it's talking about 35 million less than Kong Skull Island. So, yeah, highest grossing film in the series so far, despite being several films in. So that's really rather impressive. And yeah, nearly 100 million, in fact, more than what the prior film did. So yeah, this stars Rebecca Hall, who again, who reprises her role from Godzilla vs Kong. She's also in the really rather fantastic The Night House, Resurrection, and the rather underrated horror film from 2011, The Awakening. Also stars Brian Tyree Henry, who again reprises his role from Godzilla vs Kong, but he was also in Bullet Train, the 2019 version of Child's Play, Hotel Artemis, and Eternals. And finally, Dan Stevens, who was also in Abigail from this year, which I really rather enjoyed, as well as Colossal, A Walk Among the Tombstones, and The Guests. So he reunites with director Adam Wingard 10 years after their collaboration in The Guests. So, yeah, following their explosive showdown, Godzilla and Kong must reunite against a colossal undiscovered threat that is hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. So now it may well be because this is this when I first saw this film, I saw it in IMAX format for the first ever time, or because I've been looking forward to seeing this since the prior film made a surprisingly enjoyable effort, or because this feels like a good natured slice of entertainment, or overall a combination of all three. But this is easily has made for one of my favourite cinema going experiences of the year, and it's also one of my favourite films that I have recently bought physically as well, because the 4K looks really rather good, and I really like the design on the steelbook. Now, sure, it could very well be easy to be cynical about this after the excellent Godzilla minus one from last year. But I have always maintained that these kaiju films can work on two different levels. You look at the original Godzilla, that's like Godzilla minus one. It's a very serious, very dark, thematically weighty, all of the positives like that. But then you look at later films in the Godzilla series, Destroy All Monsters, I think it is, which is just balls to the wall fight scenes, destruction, but it's highly entertaining and really, really, really rather enjoyable. So you can look at this being, the opposite to that with Godzilla minus one. So yeah, I don't see the point in comparing the two of them because, like I said, they're going for two completely different avenues. This is part of a larger series, whereas minus one certainly isn't. So yeah, overall, I maintain that this works just as much as Godzilla minus one does, just for different reasons. And yeah, this was thoroughly entertaining throughout, albeit on an entirely shallower level over Godzilla minus one. That said, though, the special effects and production design are tremendous. It is well paced. The characterization given to Kong is well done, with his facial expressions being well executed and really rather reminding me of the rebooted Planet of the Apes series in terms of the way his facial expressions, in terms of his mannerisms. He just, yeah, really has a deep, well thought out characterization to him. And the score soundtrack is also excellent. Dan Stevens, though, is easily the highlight in terms of the cast, but the rest of them are really rather good. So yeah, Dan Stevens is basically a vet on a gigantic scale. The action scenes are hugely fun throughout. The on-point sound design heightens the sense of scale, and it is engrossing throughout as well. So yeah, this is also a return of a beloved kaiju in this that I really didn't know about going into this because they aren't shown in the trailer. I didn't look too deeply into the plot synopsis of this, so yeah, none of that was actually revealed beforehand to me. but I was overjoyed by their presence, and I actually kind of slightly welled up as well because they are one of my favorite kaiju monsters that have been around since the 60s, and yeah, it's really rather nice to see them return. And yeah, overall, I do hope that this series continues because, quite frankly, I haven't hated a single one of them. Yeah, there's been ones that I've enjoyed less than other ones, but that's the case with a series. At the end of the day, there are always going to be ones that are ranked a little bit lower than the ones that are higher up. So, yeah, I really, really do like the steelbook design that this has got going on. I love the pinkness of Godzilla, which is, you know, shown in the film and has a reason for being in the film. Then you got Kong with his new mechanical arm, which again has a reason for being there in the film, and yeah, has a good payoff with that as well. Slight spoiler in terms of what's on the reverse because it is a bit of a spoiler in terms of the plot, but what everyone has been hinting at is Baby Kong. Although I don't think he's actually related to Kong, but you know, it does look like Baby Kong at the end of the day. Which we haven't seen, I don't think, since the 30s with Son of Kong. Um, there might have been a sequel to the 70s King Kong in the 80s that might have had a Son of Kong in there, but I've not seen that version yet. But yeah, definitely haven't had a a King Kong, Son of Kong, at least until since the 30s when the basically put out a sequel to King Kong, rushing it out because that first film was a huge success, and yeah, they basically released it within a year of the first one coming out. But yeah, in terms of the discs, well, the 4K is printed, the Blu-ray isn't, but I really like what they've got going on with the 4K there. Then you got Godzilla in the background. So yeah, there's plenty of extras on the discs as well. All of the extras are actually on the 4K disc as well, which is not usually the case. Usually the extras are left to the Blu-ray, and then the 4K is just given its own room. But still, you got extras that include a commentary by director Adam Wingard, and there are multiple featurettes that delve further into the histories and origins of the Titans that are featured in this. So yeah, you journey deep into the heart of our world to discover the spectacular Hollow Earth and meet the new characters, get an inside look at the film's epic battles, and go behind the scenes with Wingard and the cast and the crew. So yeah, there's plenty of extras on there. Actually, I kept scrolling along the special features, and I was expecting it to end, and it just didn't. So yeah, there's loads of extras on there that look interesting and should be well worth watching eventually. But yeah, I've only seen about 5 to 15 minutes of this film on 4K purely because I don't have time to watch a 2 hour film again. Basically, after seeing it already at the cinema. But what I did see is a reasonably action-packed start to the film. You see Kong fighting off these monsters and laying out a trap, and then basically washing himself and eating the creatures that he's killed. So yeah, it's decent action-packed first 5 minutes or so, and yeah, these special effects look great on the 4K, and yeah, it all looks really rather quite clear, and the colours are popping and everything like that. So yeah, really rather stellar 4K release. Steelbook looks excellent as well. I'm going to definitely be putting this in my little Steelbook frame that I can put up on a wall because that's where I like to show off my 4Ks the most in Steelbook form. So yeah, looks great, and yeah, it's a really rather excellent film. I give it 4.5 out of 5. I know that's probably way higher score than most people have given this film, but I genuinely loved what I saw at the cinema in IMAX. And now you could say it's just because it was in IMAX and therefore it's blowing you away with the sound and the visuals and the action scenes. But the fact is, the IMAX doesn't make the soundtrack any better or the score. It doesn't make the humor any better. It doesn't make the cast any more enjoyable. It doesn't make the characterization of Kong any more enjoyable. But all of those elements were there, and they still are there, and the IMAX at the end of the day did not make those any more prevalent. So yeah, there's definitely more going for it than just oh, big screen, big monsters attacking each other, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, well worth seeing if you haven't seen it already. Obviously it's not out at the cinemas in the cinemas anymore, I don't think, which is, yeah, a bit of a shame if you haven't had the chance to see it on the big screen, because that is obviously where it's going to be best. But it still works on the small screen. But as far as I'm concerned, seeing these films first time round, it's better to see them on the big screen first time round. So yeah, that's something that I never got the chance to do with Kong Skull Island, by the way, and I still regret not doing that. But overall, great film, well worth seeing. One of my favourites of the year so far. I think it's in 6th place in my top films of 2024. Not sure if it'll stay there, but end of the day, it's still a great film, regardless of where it ranks. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching. If you've seen this film already, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.